Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon, everyone. So this week, I'm going to introduce you to one of the laws and regulations occupational related to occupational safety. I think this is very important for your topics or for your course because you are dealing with industrial activity. So one of the regulations that is really important besides OSHA is CIMAH. So this week, I'm going to tell you a little bit on CIMAH, and please answer the quiz questions provided in the virtual class. Yeah. All right. Okay. So what is CIMAH? CIMAH it stands for Control of Industrial Major Accident Hazards Regulations. So this stands for CIMAH. So in short form, we call it as CIMAH. So where you can find the CIMAH regulations, it's stated in Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994. And then why is it that you have to know this act? Because as one of the representative of the company, and dealing with industrial activities. So this is very important for you to understand a little bit on what you have to do with regards to major accidents in the workplace. Okay, so what is major accident? So basically, this picture is showing you some of the outcome or the conditions or the situations of major accidents where you can see there's explosions, fires, smokes everywhere, and things get very hectic and very apa tu, or not safe at all. Eh? So in definition, a major accident is defined as a major emissions of fire or explosions resulting from uncontrolled developments of industrial activity. Means that you have the uncontrolled events, situations that you can't control or you don't even aware that is going to happen, and which leads to serious danger to either persons, to your workers, or to the environment. So these are related to the installations or the activities or the process in the industries. Yeah. So what are the common features of major accident? Ciri-ciri dia lah, the characteristics. So it's basically when you have these major accidents or major hazards events, we have these uncontrolled events, means that you can't control at all. If we have blast of fire, so it's just big as it can be. Yeah, so you can't control the events. It involves fire, explosions, and release of huge chemicals residues, resulted in death and also injuries, extensive property damage, and also environmental damage. So we have few historical chemical, major accidents that happen throughout the all over the world. So kita akan tengok, we will see it in a little bit. And then resulted from the storage of flammable or toxic substances or anything, or you want to install something new in your industries and the process and whatnot, so that might cause the event, penyebab dia lah, right? So it may cause the event. And then as representative of human resource or those who are very close to the management, you have to make sure that you understand or you know whenever that the risk in your industries, whether there is installations of new process or you are buying hazardous chemicals, the storage of flammables in your companies, in your industry. So you have to take notes all of this. Besides, we have the safety officer, occupation safety and health officer. So you have to work together with them so that you guys have a very good teams in order to reduce the major hazards. Yeah. All right. So these are the top 10 world chemical major accidents since I recorded in since 1970s towards the recent 2015. So it's not really recent. So we have this new. Just now I read through about some di Indonesia, di kawasan it's not industry. If I'm not mistaken, adalah petroleum, something like that. So that happened a few days ago, a blast of fire. So that is the recent in our neighborhood. Yeah. So what we have what can we learn from this most of the historical cases? One of it is the destroy or the damage that it caused. So it has caused a lot of cost in terms of the damage in the apa tu, in the factories, in the buildings, in the environment, as well as it kills lots of people. So most of it produce a very hazardous event, such as produce flammable gas. That mixture can ignite fire and more blast. Yeah. And then, for example, that we have in Bhopal, India. So this caused a lot of people killed during these events. It's about 3,500 people killed. Some of them are reported to 35,000. I'm not so sure which one is true, but yeah, of course, it caused a lot of apa tu, effects to the life of the people. And then it also can cause disease. For example, like we have this release of dioxins can cause chlorine ataupun penyakit kulit, yeah, the disease, the skin disease to those who are affected by the event from the chemicals that has been produced. So what is this CIMAH for? Basically, CIMAH is for to control the major accident from happen. It protects the workers, it protects the environment, and also it comply with these ILO conventions, yeah, International Labour Organizations, and then to harmonize the system of controlling major accidents. So this regulation is very important in terms of that. And then the objective is to prevent major industrial activities and then to limit the consequences to people, as well as to the property and also environment. This CIMAH regulation is not applied to nuclear installation. It's not applied and installations under the armed forces. As you know, OSHA is not applied for those who are working in the armed forces. Yeah. So a vehicle or vessel transporting hazardous substance to or from the site of industrial activities. So you have, if you have like vessel or vehicle to transport hazardous chemical from the sites, it's not really applied CIMAH. And also an industrial activity which there is involved or likely to be involved a quantity of hazardous substance less than 10% of the threshold quantity. So this is also not applied the law, the CIMAH. Okay. So what are the definitions of industrial activity? Industrial activity is an operation carried out in industrial installations referred in Schedule 4. So this Schedule 4 can be referred ataupun can be, you can look back at this CIMAH Act ataupun Regulations Act. And then this includes on-site storage and also on-site transport. It also a storage of hazardous substance or preparations at any place, installation, premises, for the purpose of the activities of the industry. And then what are the major hazard installations? Major hazard installations is an industrial activity that produce, process, handles, or dispose one or more hazardous substance, um, or a category or categories of hazardous substance, yeah, which is equal or exceed the threshold quantity. So in sekejap lagi we will look through. I think I provide here. Okay, so this is actually the definitions of non-major hazard installations and major hazard installations. So if you have this activity, 10% of the threshold quantity of the hazardous substance of the chemicals, then we call it as non-major hazard installations. But if it's exceed the TQ or the threshold quantity of the hazardous substance, then we call it as major hazard installations. So if it's less than 10%, means that here, over here, okay, this is the benchmark. If it's less than 10%, then we are not classified that industrial activity as major hazard installations. Yeah, all right. So that is the definitions in the short form of summarized. Yeah? Sites, what are defined by sites means that the whole of an area of land or under control of a manufacturer, anything that related to the industrial or the manufacturer, any area, and also the structure, whether it is floating on water or not. If it's a structure, then this is under the control of manufacturer, and that is the definition of the sites in the regulations. Okay, next is what is the common major hazard installation? Some of it in the petrochemical works, chemical works, LPG terminal and storage, large fertilizer stores, explosive making factories, for example. These are the examples of the common major hazard installations that is related to the industrial activity, where until when you are working, you may be involved with one of this process. Yeah. And then example of industrial disaster in Malaysia, I think I have listed a few for your reference. You can just Google it and find out the details. Okay, there are two major concerns in CIMAH. The first one is the type of hazardous substance, and also the second one is the quantity. So CIMAH is concerns on the types of hazardous substance or hazardous chemical if it's toxic, flammable, explosive, highly reactive. And then the quantity, if it exceeds some threshold value, so that is, you need to apply the regulations. Okay. All right, so obligations of manufacturer under MHI ataupun major hazard installation manufacturer, this is most of it adalah you as the those who are related to the employer ataupun related to the management. Yeah. So you have to notify DOSH for this industrial activity. Basically, you are not doing this. If you have safety and health officer, they will do this part. Yeah. But as this human resource or human capitals department, so you have to understand the process. Means that you have to, for example, if they forgot to notify DOSH, then you can remind them and things like that, or you can put it in the agenda of the meetings and things like that, because you know that this is very important and it's an obligation of the employer. Yeah, so you have to notify DOSH, Department of Safety and Health, of an industrial activity that you have in your company. You have to prepare and submit. Basically, the safety and health officer have to prepare and submit the reports, and also on-site emergency response plan to DOSH to keep up to date reports, inform the local authority. Why you have to inform the local authorities? Because when anything happens, for example, if you have accident or you have these explosions, then it will affect people surrounding your company, yeah, your organizations, your factories, for example. So that is why you have to make them involved in the process. Yeah? You also have to inform the public, and also to help the local authority to prepare for this off-site emergency response plan. So that is why in this course, you will be learning on how to plan for this emergency response. Yeah. And then as an employee, for example, as an employee, pekerja, so what you have to do is you have to cooperate with your manufacturers in complying with CIMAH. You have to act in such a manner not to endanger or injure yourself. And also you have to notify the manufacturer or the employer as soon as you are aware of the hazards, yeah, in the workplace. That is our role as an employee, pekerja. And then the obligations of the local authority, they have to, once they receive the notifications, they have to categorize the plan. They have to aware of the major hazard installations. They have to prepare for this off-site ERP, and also prepare, keep up to date, implement off-site emergency response plan. Yeah, so this is what they have to do as the local authorities. Who is the local authority? For example, if you are in Sedang, so Majlis Perbandaran Petaling, if I'm not mistaken, that is their role as the local authority. And then why safety reports is important in CIMAH, because it gives you, the objective of the report is to identify the nature and scales of the substances or the dangerous substances, the risks that could possibly happen. It will describe the types, the consequences of major accidents. It will describe the arrangement for safe operation. And why is it important to you? Because it is as a management tool to be used by your company. Because you have to include this in your meetings, you have to inform your boss, you have to inform the rest of the subordinates what is going to happen, the risk and things like that. And this is a tool for inspections to be used by the inspectors or those who are in the occupational safety. And then what need to be highlighted in the report, these are the things: the hazardous substance, what are the process of the installations, the management system for controlling the hazard, and also the risk assessment. Basically, as a human resource, you are not going to do this, but this is under the obligations of safety officer. But as those who are in the team, you have to also take note of the process of the element or documents that you have to know. Okay, demonstration of safe operations for non-major hazard installation. So if you have a process or activity that is classified as non-major hazard installation. So what is defined by non-major hazard installation is when the process is having like 10% of the threshold, the TQ, threshold quantity of the hazardous substance. If it's within that 10%, so you have to identify the possible major accident hazard. You have to take adequate steps to prevent the accident, minimize the consequences by having this ERP, do the fire drills, informs everyone, make them alerts of the hazard and things like that. Provide at any time the evidence, including the document, to show that you have carried all of the things. You have already prevent the major accident. You have already minimized the risk. Yeah? And then you also have to prepare and keep up to date the adequate on-site emergency plan. So basically, kalau because you are the human resource departments or human capital departments, you are responsible for the documentations. You have to make sure that everything is documented, because this is going to help you and the company to provide to support if anything happens, then you will not be punished, or you will not be blamed of not taking extra precautions of the process. Yeah, so that is why documentations, proof, evidence is very important. And then you have to make sure that you do this training. You have to train the workers. You have to make them aware of the hazard. You have to really do this frequently, or in certain range of times. So you have to keep it. Yeah, so you have to make sure that you maintain that. And then this off-site emergency response. Okay, ERP, they have two types. The first one is on-site. The second one is off-site. The on-site emergency response plan is in our company or in our manufacturing company, in our organization. But when you're dealing with off-site emergency response plan, means that it deals with other people's outside of your company. So one of it adalah local authority. So you have to prepare and keep up to date to the local authority, whatever the process in your company. So for example, if anything hazard or if anything accident happen, who is you are going to call? If you are going to call the police, the bomber, the local authority, so you have to make sure that these people are aware of the process, what are their numbers, who are the person in charge, and things like that. So you have to make sure that it's properly addressed. And then you also have to plan to deal with emergency that can cause damage inside and outside the plant. And then this is need to be discussed within a team in your organizations. You have the safety officer, you have these engineers, you have the purchasing department, something like that. And then you have to plot, or you have to table out all the consequences, how big will be the risk, how big will be it if it's anything wrong, how this will impact the companies and things like that. So you have to deal with it, and then you have to also inform others outside of their company, including the JKK of the kampong, for example, the villages, those representative of the taman, of the residential areas. Yeah? So you have to make sure that they are involved in the process of emergency response. So in terms of you, when it's happened, any major hazards or any major hazard events happen, so what you have to inform to the public. One of it is the names of the manufacturers and address, the identifications by position held of a person, giving the information, those person in charge, so that the public can call you to get the information. And also the brief explanations on site activities, you have to brief them what is going on, what you are going to do, and things like that. Informations on the actions the population concerned should take in the event of accident. So if anything happens, then what they have to do. And then other types of information. And then they also have to, you have to inform them the names of the chemicals or hazardous substance or any process that you are doing in your company that might lead to major accident. And then arrangements of on-site liaison officers and off-site emergency services to deal with the emergency, and also other relevant information that can be obtained from the process throughout the journey, throughout the process of major hazard installations. Notifications, you have to, as I mentioned just now, one of the obligations of the manufacturers or the organization is to notify DOSH of these major accidents or major hazard installations. So the manufacturer have to notify the nearest office by the quickest means, and then provide all of this information in terms of what are the hazard, what are the accident, what are the emergency measures that has been taken care, and then you have also to fill in the form. As I mentioned, you are not going to do this alone because we have the safety and health officers with you to compile all this information. But as those officers or executive in the that close to the management, so you have to provide all of these information to support the teams. Yeah. Okay, so these are a few of these examples of the form that you have to your team have to fill out. So as a conclusion, so CIMAH will not totally prevent the occurrence of accident, but it will provide or it will minimize the accidents, or it will help you to prevent and mitigate. Yeah, and then it will help you with the plans of emergency response. So that is why it is very important for you to understand these regulations before we come up to a emergency response plan in this course. Yeah, and then the penalty if you are not comply with the regulations is it will cost you about 50,000. It's not cost you lah. It will cost the management or organizations, or 2 years imprisonment or both. So I think the penalty is high enough, or perhaps it will teach us, or it will give us a sign that this is very important for us to take care, and we have to make sure that we are really serious to control the hazard or the accident. Yeah? So because we don't want the historical cases of major accident happen again. All right, so I think that's all from me about CIMAH. If you have any questions, you can just WhatsApp me or you can email me. I will try to answer your questions. And if you have time, these are a few of these incidents related to major hazards. So you can choose one. So what you have to do, basically, you have to read through and then find out how it happens, when, why, who has been involved, how it has been affected. And then discuss how the applications of CIMAH can prevent this incident from repeated, and discuss it over with your friends. You don't need to present it to me, but you know, this is just to helps you to understand the topics very well and helps you to read through some historical cases. Yeah. All right. Who knows? It might be out in your as a questions in your S1. All right. Thank you guys for your attention. We'll see you next in class, and we will discuss another topics with you guys. Thank you very much.